Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar called Taking Control of Your Work-Life Fit as an Independent Professional. And this is going to be presented by Cali Williams Yost, who's the founder of Flex Plus Strategy Group, work+life Fit. My name is Sarah Condi. I'm what's called a consultant services advisor here at MBO Partners, and I wanted to introduce Cali and bring you a little bit of background about MBO and what we do. It's my job here at MBO to talk to individuals about our programs that we have and the offerings that we have to see if there's any kind of a fit. So just a quick little rundown on what MBO does. We make it easy for independent consultants and their clients to work together, and we do all this by handling a variety of back office functions for our consultants so they can focus on the work they love. We take care of all the annoying stuff like the taxes, the invoicing, the contracts, and the business insurance, and we work hard to provide value to independents by creating a wide range of educational content that's featured on our Independence Guide, which we can link you to later, and it's a portion of our website, and also by doing webinar series like this. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. You'll see just some quick tools here, how to do the controls. Please click the button with a small screen icon to move into full screen mode. Don't hesitate to send questions across throughout the presentation by typing them into the box as we show here. We will answer all of them, all the questions at the end of the presentation. I would like to make sure I would, however, like to answer the most common questions we get now. Yes, we will be emailing you a recording of the webinar. You should see it in your box early next week, so don't worry if you missed something. We'll certainly make sure that you get a full copy of the recorded webinar emailed to you. So now I'm excited to introduce our main speaker for today. As I said, Cali Williams Yost. Just some background on Cali. She's a CEO and founder of Flex Strategy Group and Work-Life Fit Incorporated. She's a pioneering expert on managing work and life balance. She's one of Mashable's top 14 career experts on Twitter. She's been on the Today Show, and she's been an author of several different things. So we're really excited to have her here. And Cali, I'm going to push it over to you now.
Sarah, thank you so much, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here today with all of you. And just know that if you want to tweet the presentation, it's #MBOWeb, and you can also submit your questions and comments there as well. And I am on Twitter, so I will do my best to get back to you after the presentation. Obviously, I will not be tweeting during the presentation. This webinar, Take Control of Your Work-Life Fit as an Independent Professional, is particularly near and dear to my heart because for the last 15 years, I have been one of you. I became an independent professional for a number of reasons 15 years ago, some professional and some personal. I wanted to do the work I do the way I felt it needed to be done. So the work I do, in case you're interested, is I create flexible workplaces. And I also, in the context of allowing people to use that flexibility, I give people the skills and tools to meet their employer halfway and manage what I call their work-life fit. And I saw 15 years ago that this work needed to be done in a way that at the time I couldn't find a place to park. And so I went out on my own. But at the same time, I had many things that mattered to me in my personal life that I wanted to flexibly fit into that work as well as I needed. And therefore, the theory of striking out on your own is great, but the practice can actually be much harder, especially when you have those combined work and personal goals for taking the step. Because really, time is money. You are on your own, and in many cases, it's only you. Now, over the years, I have grown and morphed into a business, so I have colleagues that now work with me, but that was not always the case. So it's not like you're sitting in an office with 10 colleagues right next to you who can readily pitch in and help out and support you. So the analogy I use is that when you work for an organization, and especially if you go into a physical office space most days, there's some structure, right? The image I like to use is that of a vintage ice cube tray. But when you strike out on your own, all of a sudden the structure disappears. And you need to figure out how to put up the boundaries and allocate your resources, time, money, energy, to create a work-life fit that allows you to be your best personally and professionally as you define it. So as you can probably hear, I use different language to describe what your goal is. I believe the objective for all of us is our unique work-life fit. And the reason I think language is so important is it really does make a difference in terms of allowing us to see the possibilities. And I'm going to talk to you about 4 specific reasons why I think work-life fit is such a powerful concept, especially when you're an independent professional. First, it acknowledges the fact that we are all unique. Every single one of us has a different combination of work and life realities at any one time. So what our work-life fit is going to look like is going to be different. And it's always changing. Therefore, it has to be flexible. Sometimes, especially when you're an independent professional, you may be on a really intense, work-heavy project where you're putting in maybe 60, 70, 80 hours a week to get something done, but then that project ends, and maybe you have a period where you're really not working much at all until your next project begins. And so how do you manage your work-life fit as those realities change over time? And what that allows us to see is there's no right answer. I'm not going to finish this webinar today and tell you, okay, you know what, Tom, here's exactly how you need to manage your work-life fit. Or Susan, here's exactly how you need to manage your work-life fit. It doesn't work that way. It really is about what your realities are now and how those fit together based on your circumstances. So again, there's no judgment, right? If there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, and so we can stop sort of judging the best way to do this, and we can just figure out what works best for us. But the problem is, knowing how to manage your work-life fit is a modern skill set we all need, but very few of us have. We are not taught. And so that's really the area that has fascinated me for the last decade, is what does this modern skill set for managing the fit between work and life look like? And the answer is, for the everyday, is to just tweak it. That's what I'm going to spend the rest of my time with you today talking about, which is this tweak it practice. And the practice really begins first and foremost by changing how we think about and approach all of the various work, career, life to-dos that seem to come at us all day long, and stop being so reactive. And the way I like to encourage people to see everything we have to get done is to look at it like a big buffet of work, life, and career possibilities. Now, over the years, I've asked people, what are the areas of your work, your career, and your personal life that you would like to touch on over time that matter to you, that would make a foundation of success and well-being solid and strong? And here's what people told me. Obviously, work. How are you working as smart and effectively as you can? Then, of course, there are the things that renew us. That's everything from moving your body, eating healthfully, getting enough sleep, taking a vacation, meditation, doing nothing. Those are the areas of renewal that should be on your buffet. Then there's career. Now, when you're an independent professional, it's not just the work that you have to get done. You really do have to drive the bus of your career. So are you networking? Are you taking classes to stay up on your skills? Those are dishes on your buffet. Money. managing your money, whether it's your day-to-day budget or saving for college, retirement. And then there's connecting with the people that we love in our lives, be it our family, our friends, our partner. And I break out connecting with kids because it's interesting. People, not everybody has kids, first of all. And secondly, the people who do have kids realize that the different ages require different types of connection. Then for more of us, it's the caregiving. It is making sure that our kids have the child care that we need, because as any independent professional will tell you, you really can't substitute working independently for child care. You really need child care anyway. So how do you find the care you need? Not just for kids, but also more and more for aging relatives. And finally, just that daily life maintenance, right? Getting to the dry cleaner, getting your car in for servicing. If you're somebody who lives in the Northeast and now the South, making sure you have snow removal so that you can get out of your driveway. These are the things that we have to touch on over time in order to build that foundation of well-being in order that puts the structure around our work-life fit the way it needs to work for us to be our best. But here's the thing. We can't eat every dish on the buffet all the time. And too many of us are trying to eat it all, and it's not working. So the trick then is to be as intentional as you can be each week. So think of your unique work-life fit as the slotted tray that you take up to the buffet every week. Some weeks you're going to have, and okay, I'm going to say this because people take this slide too literally. I wish I could find a slide with a slotted tray that has 10 slots on it or 15 slots on it or even 2. This is a metaphor for slots. The number of slots that you have free to fill into your work-life fit each week are going to change depending upon your circumstances. But the point is you have to intentionally take servings from the dishes of your work, personal, and career buffet that make the most sense for you that week, given what you need and your capacity for that week. And each week, the number of slots are going to change as you go up with your slotted tray to that buffet of work, personal, and career possibilities. But over time, you will hit all the dishes that are meaningful for you, but you'll do it intentionally and deliberately. And this is about the time people say to me, oh, you mean this is really good time management, right? Well, yes, you definitely have to think about what you are going to do when. However, in today's world, you also have to think about how you're going to do something, who you are going to coordinate and collaborate with, and where you're going to do it. Because it's that next level of thought and planning that actually make an action or priority happen. So, for example, let's say that one of your tweaks is, I want to get to the gym on Thursday and on Tuesday after I'm done with my project at 5:30. Yeah, you're going to put that on your calendar. But how are you going to do it? Because you're maybe at a client site, so you maybe have to take your gym clothes with you, or you may have to put them in the car so that when you get into the car, you're going right to the gym. Who do you have to collaborate with? If you have a partner, maybe you have to let them know what you're doing. Now, maybe, for example, you're not going to be able to get home in time to get to the gym or what you want to do. Maybe you're going to exercise at your client site. Maybe you're going to spend a half an hour and walk around at lunch. These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves every week, every day, as we try to intentionally and deliberately put those boundaries up and allocate our resources to make what matters to us happen. So how did I come up with, before I introduce you to then the practice that you'll follow to figure out what dishes to take from the buffet, I want to tell you where this came from. So I told you already that my business is to create flexibility in the workplace. I've been doing this now for almost 20 years. And over those 20 years, I would always meet people I call the work-life fit naturals. And these are folks that I estimate to be about 10 to 20% of the workforce. Now, I'd identify the naturals one of two ways. They would come up to me after I would give a presentation very politely and say, you know what, I do not understand why this is so difficult. Isn't it all pretty clear how you do it? And I began to listen to what they told me, because they couldn't understand that 85% of the rest of their colleagues had absolutely no idea how to manage all that they were having to deal with. So I listened to what they said. The other way I found them is I would ask their colleagues, so who just seems to be able to make it all happen here? Who does it seem to be able to do it all without breaking a sweat? And they'd say something like, you need to talk to Bob. He has a huge job, runs a team, runs marathons, has 4 kids, runs a not-for-profit on the side. I don't know how he does it. And I would go talk to him, and again, ask him, how do you do it? Because really, what the naturals are, if you think about this new environment that we are in, where there are no boundaries, and especially when you work for yourself, this is our new work-life reality. And all of us have been thrown into it like a pool. Like a pool. We've all been thrown into it at the same time and never giving any tools or skills on how to swim. The naturals are the people who just for some reason have figured out how to swim, how to make it all work together. And in studying them, here is what I learned. The naturals are intentional, just naturally intentional, at something called boundary work tactics and personal resource allocation. So these are, I bring this up because people often say, oh, is there academic research to support what you're saying to me? Absolutely. But what's interesting is these two schools of study tend to be looked at separately. And what I found is that a natural is doing this at the same time. They're managing the micro boundaries around their work and the other parts of their life, but they're also allocating their time, their money, and their energy simultaneously. So it's boundaries and resource allocation. Now that sounds complicated. So here's the beautiful thing. What I found is it's actually quite simple what they do. And to be completely honest with you, I thought it was going to be super complicated. In fact, I racked my brain when I started down this path to think, how am I ever going to translate this for people so that they know how to flexibly and intentionally manage their work-life fit in this new reality of no boundaries that we find ourselves in? Well, again, the good news is I found out really not that hard what they do. It's just we don't do it. So I translated their secrets into the following weekly Tweak It practice. And I'm going to go through the steps. And essentially what this is the process you go through each week to figure out what servings you're going to take from your big buffet of work, personal, and career possibilities, and what you're going to put into your work-life fit for that week based upon your capacity and what you need to focus on. And this is how you do it. And remember, this is all based on the secrets of the work-life fit naturals. This is what they do on a regular basis. The first thing they do is they celebrate success. They do not focus on what they could not get done. They only focus on what they did get done. So let's say, for example, in 1 week you decide you want to meet your friend after work to celebrate their birthday. You want to start to plan a vacation. You want to network with a professional group. 3 things you really want to get done for that week, but you only get done 2. You only get to the networking event, and you only meet your friend. Now, most of us, at least high achievers that I know, tend to focus on the one thing we didn't get done, which is plan vacation. And we forget to celebrate the fact that we saw our friend and we networked. The naturals would celebrate those 2 things. And no, they'll get to the other one later, because it's never perfect. Celebrate what you get done. Next is sit down 20 minutes, 25 minutes each week, look at your calendar and priority list, and ask yourself, what do I have to do? What do I need to get done? What do I want to get done in all the different parts of my life? And then you'll begin to see where there's space for perhaps something else that you want to do. The problem is our research consistently shows that a majority of us do not take the time to regularly reflect on our work-life fit each week. We don't. And I find this across groups, doesn't matter industry, doesn't matter level. It is generally within the same sort of 5% range on either side that most of us do not take this step each week. Then what you want to do is you want to review your standard tweaks. These are the tweaks I call your habits. This would be something like, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to shop for my food, my groceries on Sunday, and cook a couple meals for the week. I am going to tuck my child in to bed 3 nights a week. Anything that is a habit that you want to do week after week after week is a standard tweak. And you want to review those and see where those habits are going to fit in for the next 7 days for you. Then, see, we spend a lot on habits, and I think habits are super important. That tends to really be the whole conversation around how you get things done. And I don't believe you can live by habits alone. And here's why. Because not everything's a habit that's meaningful. Some things are just moments that don't happen again. So to go back to the example of meeting your friend and celebrating their birthday, that's a moment. That's not going to happen week after week after week, but it's still really important. Or the networking event. That's a moment. That's still really important, but it isn't going to happen week after week after week. So what you want to do is you want to look at all the dishes on your big, beautiful buffet that matter to you, and you want to look at what the habits are that you want to put into your work-life fit that week, but you also want to look at the moments that matter in all those key areas. Connecting with a friend, doing your finances. Maybe you need to review your insurance coverage. That's a moment, but that's really important, and you may have to do that this week. So you're going to have looked at your standard tweaks, where you're going to try to put them in for the week. Then you're going to look at the moments, the unique tweaks that are important over the next 7 days. Then you're going to think about where you're going to do each tweak and how you're going to do it, and you're going to think about who you need to collaborate with, coordinate with, and communicate with. So I go back to the networking event. So is that event, is it virtual or is it live? Because, you know, in today's world, right now today, this is virtual. This didn't require you to go anywhere. But there could be other events that you go to that really do require you to go somewhere. And so how are you going to get there? How do you leverage your time with that experience in that event? How are you going to make it happen? Who do you have to talk to? Do you have to collaborate with your client and figure out if you can schedule meetings around this particular tweak that you want to get done? And then communicate and coordinate to make it happen. And finally, this is super important, and again, we don't do this, which is fascinating to me. The naturals keep their work and personal to-dos on the same calendar and priority list. Now, as an independent professional, at least for me, I found this pretty intuitively understandable because my work and my life are all the same, and I can't run a separate work and personal calendar and priority list. It wouldn't work for me. But I'm shocked at how many people don't keep them together. And so as a result, you're not making decisions and choices throughout the day based on a complete picture. So let's say you get a client call at 3:30, and you were going to try to go to your son's soccer game. Now remember, one of the reasons you may have become an independent professional is that you really want to be able to do things like your son's soccer game. That might be one of the reasons you did this. So your son's soccer game's at 3:30, you get a call from a client saying, hey, can we talk? And you got 2 choices. If you don't have that soccer game on your calendar, you quickly look at your calendar and you say, yep, let's do it. And then you're late for the game. But if you have on your calendar, the one in front of you, soccer game, then that gives you a minute, a choice point to say to your client, you know what, love to, is this something urgent right now? They may say, no, this is cool, we can talk later. Say, great, can I call you back in an hour and a half, or can I call you tomorrow morning? It just gives you an opportunity to make intentional, deliberate decisions versus having things just happen, which is too often what does occur when we don't have this clear picture in front of us. So every 7 days, you sit down and you follow these steps again. And over time, you will hit all of the important dishes on your buffet of work, career, and personal possibilities. And you'll do it in a deliberate and intentional way that allows you to build a foundation of well-being and success as you define it, because what caused you to strike out on your own, you want to make sure you're achieving that vision of what you had, that you had for yourself and what you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what this might look like in action, and then I'm happy to take some questions from everybody. So here's Karen. Now Karen is an independent professional. She has been an independent professional for about 5 years. She decided to go out on her own because she wanted primarily just the challenge of having different clients in her industry, which is biotech. But she also is a triathlete, and it's really, really important to her that she have time for her triathlon activities. But also, Karen wanted to be able to spend more time with her friends and the other people in her life. She found that she had plenty of time for her triathlete activities and her work, but her challenge really was the other parts of her life. So in her Tweak It practice each week, she's pretty good about building in time to do her training around her client schedule, but she struggles with sleep. And really, because she's a triathlete, she has to be super good about her diet, and she wasn't. And she was finding that it was impacting her ability to perform. So Karen's standard tweaks each week are to get at least 7 hours of sleep 3 nights a week. And this particular 7 days, she sees she's most likely to be able to do that on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Now, it's not just enough to put that on her calendar. She's got to think about how she's going to do it and who she's going to coordinate with and collaborate with to make that happen. So to get sleep, she realizes she has to turn her computer off an hour before she falls to sleep, because part of her sleep problem she's been able to find could be that her brain is being affected by the computer and not letting her sleep. So she's got to shut that off an hour before she's going to actually try to be in bed. Then she's going to start the process of getting into bed about a half an hour before she wants to be asleep. And she's going to put that down in her calendar so that buffer of getting ready is clear to her, and she starts that process when she needs to. In terms of eating healthfully, she really needs to shop for all of her groceries once a week. And she's now realizing that she has to take meals with her when she goes into the client site, or when she's even just working from her office in her house. She really needs to have those healthy meals prepared, or she just grabs stuff and it isn't exactly what she needs to stay on her training schedule. So what she's going to do is she's going to shop every Friday at the end of the day for the whole weekend and then for the rest of the week. Now, she wants to keep moving, though, during the day when she's not training, because she's finding that she's sitting a lot, which, again, she now knows is not healthy. It's not like she's going for a run in the middle of the day, but she just wants to try to be as intentional as she can about 4 days a week by getting up and walking around for about 15, 20 minutes. It's a half an hour she has. It's great, because she just doesn't want to sit all day. So she's looking at her client schedule, her meetings, and she sees she can do that Monday. The only day she can't do it is really Tuesday. She's going to be at a working lunch, and it's just not going to happen. But the rest of the days, she can try to walk about at least 20 minutes at lunch. Now, interestingly enough, the way her desk is situated, she thinks it's distracting. She just is at her client site where she's working right now. Is the desk they've put her in is just people walk by it all the time. She just gets thrown off her concentration, so she's going to switch her desk to another location in the room, and hopefully that's going to help her concentrate a little bit better. And then she's going to have dinner with a friend, because her vision, they're in a big project with the client, but her vision of her work-life fit going out on her own was that she would not miss dinner with her friends. And her friend's in from out of town, she wants to have dinner, and she's going to make it happen. and the friend is going to be in on Wednesday night. She's going to try to meet her early after work. And finally, she's going to get a haircut, because one of the things that happened before she went out on her own is that she would go weeks and weeks and weeks without just doing the daily maintenance of her life that is important to her. And you know what? She likes to get her haircut on a regular basis, makes her feel good, so she's going to do that on Saturday afternoon and make sure that she feels as good about herself as she can. Now you see, these are super small steps that she's taking that even if she does 80% of these, she is going to feel great about not only her professional life, but her personal life. And she is going to achieve the vision of work-life fit success for that week that brought her into being an independent professional and helps her be her best on and off the job. Another example would be Tom. Now, in Tom's case, he's a dad. He's been an independent professional like 3 years. What happened is he got downsized, but from his job. He is a marketing expert, and he got downsized from a job, and he said, you know what, I just have a lot more that I can offer many different clients than to align myself with one company. He's totally open to finding one company that he may ultimately want to align with one day, but right now he's just very happy working with a number of different clients. And actually, Tom is a dad, and he's got 2 kids, and he really wanted more flexibility to be involved in their day-to-day lives, and his wife works full-time, and his flexibility helps them manage their work-life fit as a family. So here's his tweak it practice for 1 week. In his case, his challenge has been exercise. He can't seem to figure out how to make that part of his regular routine, and, you know, not getting any younger. He had a physical recently, and his blood pressure is a little high, and he really wants to make regular exercise one of his standard tweaks. So what he's going to do is he's going to try to get to the gym at least 3 times a week for an hour, and this week he sees that he can go on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. After work, Tuesday and Thursday, he's going to shut down around 4:30, get to the gym, and then finish up after dinner, after putting the kids to bed. At 4:30 on Tuesday and Thursday, he's going to try to leave to go to the gym, but he's going to start a little earlier in the day so he gets everything done. And on Sunday, he's going to go in the afternoon. Now, also really important to him is being there for the kids' bedtime at least 4 days of the week. Sometimes he's traveling out of town, sometimes he can't be there, but on the weeks that he's in town, he really does like to try to be around to put the kids to bed and be part of that routine. So he thinks this week he's not really traveling. He's going to try to do that on Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday and Wednesday. He thinks he should be able to be around for the bedtime and participate. But this week he's got a big project. And beyond his standard tweaks of exercise and the kids' bedtime, he just doesn't have a lot of capacity this week to add anything else in. So he's really this week going to be able to try to turn off his instant messaging, maybe 2 or 3 times a day for about an hour so that he can focus. He is on IM with a couple of his clients, and it's great. This project they're working on requires instant communication often. However, he's finding it very distracting and hard to focus. So he's going to try to turn it off for about an hour, maybe 2 or 3 times in a day, and play with it and see how it works. He will let his client know that they can reach him by phone if they need him. And he's going to plan a vacation. It's been about 2 years since he and his wife and the kids have gone away. The problem is he gets so busy he doesn't actually do the planning. So on Wednesday at lunch, he's going to take an hour, and he's just going to do a little bit of research so that he can sit down with his wife and talk about the trip that they're going to take. And he's going to have breakfast with his wife. But between the kids and bedtime and her work and his travel, he realizes he has the flexibility in the morning to see her at breakfast. So he's going to plan his work day to a couple days of the week, and this week it's going to be Monday and Friday. He's going to have breakfast with his wife for a half an hour before she takes off for work. So again, you can see this is not a lot of huge change. This is just intentional, small actions and priorities that he is making part of his work-life fit for the next 7 days so that he can have the work-life fit he wants as an independent professional. He's not trying to cover every base. He's just touching on the key areas for the next 7 days that mean the most to him. And over time, he will build a foundation of well-being and order, but he's not trying to do everything at once. So, usually at about this time of my presentation, people are like, okay, I can totally do this. This is awesome. Okay, I can do this. You know what? Managing your work-life fit week, we tweak the practice. I got it. A week from now, oh my gosh, what did she say? I have no idea what she said. So here are some resources that you can access to help you see how this practice works for you and helps you as an independent professional create the work-life fit that you want based on your realities for the next 7 days. They are my book, obviously, Tweak It, Make What Matters to You Happen Every Day. You can order it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the big online retailers. But there's also the companion Tweak It Together site. And on that site, you will see all sorts of great resources. I have a worksheet that you can follow, that you can walk through as you do the practice each week. It's free. Go to Tips and Worksheets. You'll find it there. There's even a little tracker that if you want to put it on your phone and track your tweaks that you picked for the week, you can do that as well. So the other cool part about the tweakittogether.com site is I interviewed experts in 50 of the career, personal, and work areas that people told me they wanted to make part of their work-life fit. And I asked them to give me their best and simplest get-started tips. So on the site, you can have a link to their websites and also a bonus tweak that didn't fit in the book that they gave me. So again, if you need a little inspiration, there's a particular part of your life that you want to add into your work-life fit that you're struggling with, and you need a little source of inspiration, go to the site, see what they had to say, and don't get stuck. Just keep moving forward. So with that, I hope that you have found this information helpful. I would love to stay connected with you. As I said, I feel as though I am part of your tribe. You know, when I go into companies, people think I have the best work-life fit in the world, and I do. I love being an independent professional, but it really does require an extra level of intention in order to achieve that work-life fit that may have caused you to take this step in the first place. So connect with me, and thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Callie. I really appreciate that. On a personal note, I found that really useful because I'm about to have my first child, so I was definitely scribbling some notes down for myself and taking that all in. So this was quite timely for me. But it's like it was timely for lots of people because we have a few questions, and so I'm going to aggregate them into kind of the common themes that I'm seeing.
Sure.
We saw a lot of people that are kind of saying, you know, in respect to boundaries, how do I communicate these boundaries if I have a demanding client and they're pushing me a little bit too hard? And, you know, how do I not offend the client but also kind of have that good boundary for my own work-life balance and health?
Okay, so first, I don't mean to keep pounding this home, but it's really important that you know, think of it as your work-life fit right now. And so depending upon your client, so there are a couple ways you can handle this. You have a demanding client. Maybe it's a very specific, concentrated project, and it isn't going to go on for a long time, and you know it's going to end after a discrete period. So maybe the first step would be, you know what, just try to do some small things around the edges that are really important to you while you try to serve this client. And then when it's done, and you move on. If this is a client you're going to have over time, the best way to do this, first of all, you have to know what it is you want, and that's the first step. Really try to be clear about what are the small priorities and activities that you really do want to try to make happen, and when do you want to make them happen. And then when the client pushes you, it's okay for you to say, I just want to clarify your expectations around when we're going to have this done, when we're going to meet, and could we perhaps meet at this time? Could we perhaps have the deadline be this? Don't say why. Don't say because I'd like to go to my son's soccer game. Don't say because I would like to take a weekend trip. I mean, you don't need to get into your personal reasons as to why you're asking that question. You just ask. And let's say 60% of the time the client's going to say, you know what, yeah, we could meet at this other time. Or, you know what, yeah, that deadline's fine. That's fine. That works. The problem is because we don't know what we're trying to achieve, it's very hard for us then to clarify an expectation on the other side. And once you know what you're trying to do, you can be better at saying, can I just ask your expectation? Can I clarify this deadline? Can I clarify this meeting date? And you will often find there's really not necessarily a lot of urgency behind it. It's maybe potentially kind of arbitrary. And so there's a way to do it that makes you seem as though you are servicing them, which you are, and you need to, but also at the same time not totally acquiescing everything you're trying to do on the other side. Because that kind of client's not going to be sustainable, is my experience. And you almost have to train them because they don't know. They're just sort of throwing stuff out oftentimes, and you have to sort of help them kind of figure it out in a way that's going to work for everybody.
That makes sense, and it seems like, too, I feel like they would respect that. That if you're respecting yourself, you'll kind of get that respect back from the client as well.
And they may say sometimes, no, we got to do it now. Great, you'll respond. Fine,
right.
That's great. But those times where there is wiggle room, you'll also be able to achieve what you want to achieve as well. And again, don't get into the details of what you're trying to do personally. They don't need to know all that. Just, clarify the when and the how and the where with them.
Thank you so much, Kelly. We'll do another. I'll kind of combine the last one into one last question with two parts. That's kind of a common theme that I'm seeing. People who are saying, I'm a workaholic, I'm a perfectionist. My biggest driver and client, my biggest taskmaster is myself. I'm the one putting all these demands on myself. It's part of my personality. Any practical steps that you can give them or a way to kind of specifically hone in if your personality tends to be that of a workaholic or a perfectionist?
Okay, so there was a great segment on the nightly news last night, and it was supposed to be around binge working. They were going to talk about this concept of binge working, and the woman they profiled is a crisis PR manager. Now, I thought it was kind of interesting they picked her because her job inherently is 24 hours a day because she's a crisis PR manager. And then they finish the segment. She looks at the camera and says, and I love it. Okay, so here's a woman who's a crisis PR manager, works for herself, so she's an independent professional, works for herself, and she loves it. So I thought that was kind of an interesting person to pick because the way she works is not inherently wrong. So if you're working a lot as an independent professional, and guess what? There are times I work a lot because I love what I do. It's really not oftentimes work to me. And I have projects I have to get done, and I have clients that have to get things out. That's the reality. So I wish we wouldn't label. You're a workaholic if what you're doing is causing you problems, if it's making you sick, if it's causing your relationships to flounder, that's a workaholic. If you're somebody who enjoys their work and has work that you're managing, but you're not totally ignoring your health, everything else in your life, then you can manage that. So label yourself workaholic only if it's having really negative effects on you and your family and every other part of your life. If it's just a lot of work, then how do you put some boundaries around that? So the question then becomes, what's important to you? We all really do need to take care of ourselves. If you're not taking care of your health, then you're not going to be able to sustain the work that you love to do, that you're doing. Perfectionism is a problem if it's keeping you from being able to put up really small boundaries. Like, can you get up and walk around for half an hour at lunch? Is that going to cause the quality of your work to suffer? Probably not. Is having breakfast with your partner for half an hour in the morning, is that going to cause the quality of your work to suffer? Probably not. But it will also give you the energy and the focus to continue to do the good work you want to do. We're not particularly productive if we're worried about our relationships, if we haven't moved our bodies, if we're not eating well. It's not like you're doing awesome work. So we also have to know that by investing in some of these meaningful activities and priorities, the return, now I hope I make this clear, the return is actually greater in terms of energy and focus than the actual investment of time required to make it happen. So getting up, taking care of yourself, connecting with your family, managing your personal finances, scheduling a vacation now and then actually makes the quality of your work better. So break those activities down into small pieces and put them into your work-life fit, but then also celebrate success. Do not focus on the tweaks you don't get done, because this is the other part of perfectionism. You give up because you didn't get everything you tried to do done. If you even get 50% of those meaningful tweaks done in your busy work-life fit, you're going to feel great. Much better than you would feel if you didn't even try to do any of it. So that's what I would say.
Great. I'm just going to sneak in one last question because I think it's a really good one. And we wanted to know, are there places, how important is it to be held accountable for your changes, I guess for your tweaks, by other trusted people? And how do you pick these people to hold you accountable for making changes?
I love this question.
Good question, right?
Thank you, whoever asked this question. You need to find yourself a Tweak It team. I think we all need a Tweak It team. And these are people who also want to make, and you know what, there could be MBO Tweak It teams. Okay, people within MBO that say, hey, you're an independent professional, I'm an independent professional, let's check in with each other each week. How do we do? Now, if you do that, hold accountable. What does that mean? Hold accountable. Now, hold accountable could mean that you're going to get beaten up because you didn't do everything that you said you were going to do. You can't make that. If you're a team, you got to celebrate each other's success, even if that person only got one tweak done. And you got to encourage for the next 7 days. I get nervous when people talk about holding accountable, because what that means is you planned 7 tweaks, you only got 5 done, you didn't get that second one, those 2 done. You got to be careful that's not your goal with the team. You got to help each other celebrate success and encourage continued moving forward.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I think we have one more slide, Callie, just with some additional information. Is there any slide left? Yep, we got one more. And then remember, everybody, we're going to be emailing you. A couple people asked for links to your websites and things like that. So we're going to be emailing out a copy of the presentation. So all of this great content and information will be there. And then if you want to contact MBO and learn a little bit more about what we do, info at MBO Partners, really, that's the team that I manage. So if you email there, you'll hear probably from me or one of my team members. Our website has a bunch of tools on it. Here's our Twitter handle. And we've got some newsletters and things like that. I really just want to, Callie, just thank you so much for spending time with us today. We're honored to have you. And I know, like I said, I personally learned a lot, and I'm really thankful that you were able to do this for us today. And I think that that's it. And thanks, everybody, for attending. And we'll send the materials following and within the next week or so.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.